guys, Tom here. Just a little heads up to say that for this very entertaining GSC tier list video with Innes and Danny, unfortunately our recording software decided to have a funny 5 minutes and did not keep up with the units being added to the tier list. So what we have done is edited in the completed tier list from the get-go so you can see where everything ends up. A couple of things do move during the conversation. Obviously this isn't an optimal solution, and so we're very sorry about that, but I will add some timestamps so you can track all the different things across the video, and I really hope you enjoy it. It is a lot of fun. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye. Hello everybody, welcome back to They Came From Below, content for the downtrodden and devoted on 6++. I'm your host Tom, and I've got a special treat for you today because I've rounded up some very prominent members of the very small but very loud British GSC community to let you know their opinions on the entire roster, that huge, deep GSC roster full of stuff. We're going to be doing a GSC units tier list for you tonight. And of course, that means that I have the wonderful Innes Wilson here for the first time in a little while. Innes, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here talking about all things, all 7 of our data sheets and all 20 of our characters.
Yes, that is. Characters are going to be doing a lot of work in filling out the time here, so thanks to them. Good fun. And obviously, it's been a hot minute, but you've been on GSC for a little while now. Have you been enjoying your return to the faction?
My last 5 tournaments have been with GSC.
It's quite a run now,
I took one little one off to play a bit of Ironstorm, and I played it with for the LGT Invitational and a random GT up here. But yeah, my last 5 serious tournaments. Played 2 different detachments, had a really good time with it. I think I ran the numbers. I'm like 27-2 with them in tournaments or something like that. I can't really complain too hard. They're clearly doing all right for me.
They absolutely are.
Yeah, no, it's been really good fun. I'm enjoying hitting things with various either like pocket sand damage or stop signs, and one of the two either will do fine for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I haven't tried the third way yet, the Host of Ascension way, but I'm curious to see where that sits on the ratio of chip damage to huge swings. I am also joined, of course, by regular show appearer, Mr. Danny Porter, who was at Battle of Britain with me, taking names of GSC very recently. Danny, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Keeping it brief. Are you still enjoying GSC, Danny? You're still having fun on this ride?
Absolutely, until we get nerfed in like a month's time.
Danny was playing Botan before this or something and not having any fun. So
me and him were both on that journey. Actually, this is definitely more fun than Botan.
What a fucking experience!
100%. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the nerfs bring, but fingers crossed. Yeah, enjoy that little time.
I'm actually finding right now with playing GSCs. Whenever I go to playing another army, I'm like, none of my shit comes back when it dies.
Yeah. It's weird.
I lost a JPI squad and they don't just show up again? This is ridiculous.
That little voice in your head that goes, well, you get half of these back is very dangerous. When you're playing an army with like 8 units and no res, you've got to be very careful.
I'm sorry, what did you just say, Tom? How many did you get back in your first game?
My first game. Okay, well that's a statistical anomaly. That was the game against Chris Irvin where we got. He was counting. Yeah. By turn 3, he just had his calculator out and he was just counting, and it was 1,600 in total in that game. Which was very stupid. Shout out to Chris. Oh yeah, I mean it's not my fault. I didn't make it happen, and that was the best.
I mean, you did. You rolled the dice, right?
Yeah, it's true actually.
I was rolling so bad against Chris, I started making him roll them for me in my game against Radford. It's like, no, you roll this one. It didn't help.
Well, John Clark, who I played on stream, he'd worked it out. Whenever I went to roll it, he just went, no, and it didn't come back. And that worked for like the whole first 3 turns of the game. And then I started rolling them in the tray quicker before he could say no. And then I managed to squeeze a couple through.
Oh, poor John.
Truly absurd. All right, guys. So that's enough frivolity. We're going to launch into this super serious GSC unit tier list. I know you're all dying to hear it. And the format is very simple. We're going to rotate round. We're each going to take it in turns to pick a unit. We're going to bung it in a tier and justify why we've put it there. And then obviously the others are invited to either agree or push back or make silly jokes, tell silly stories, whatever it is. And we'll work our way through on that basis. So I'm going to open it up to Innes to kick us off. Innes, pick a unit, and where are you putting it?
Goliath Truck S tier.
Okay, go on, explain yourself.
It's the best data sheet in the army. It's the only way we have to get units places besides rolling charges, and I hate rolling charges. It's good in every build. It supports shooting builds. It supports melee builds. Best data sheet in the army is the Rhino.
It is Rhino.
It's
better than a Rhino.
It's in every list, right? That's the thing.
Every
Like,
single list.
it's
I can't
85
justify
points.
not having at least one in every list I play. There are definitely detachments where I'm like, I don't really feel like I need this or that. Every other data sheet, nope, Goliath is there. It's one of
like
the
it.
two that I have in
I
every
think
list.
it had a real glow up as well. I love its rule is fun, especially in Outlander we get the reroll wounds going on, but obviously it's just keeping you alive, giving you some movement.
Imagine if that wound reroll stayed until the end of the fight phase.
Oh, can you
Can't beat Eldar.
imagine?
We can't
I
beat
was
Eldar
sure. I
Falcons.
was sure that it was when I first read it. I was so excited. And that gives you some idea of where GSC are at, guys. The dedicated transport has already won the tier list on the first go. So
Look,
moving
it's
it
got
along.
a damage 3 gun as well. Like
It does.
the number of times
yeah.
I finished off a
it's so
mutual
good.
vortex piece with that autocannon at least once. It's
it's
the worst gun to
twin,
fire
the
because I
twin
expect
linked
nothing.
on the autocannon is just beautiful. Damage 3, AP2 sometimes. It's just so stupid.
AP2 ignore cover. What are we doing?
AP2
Right? Come on.
ignore cover, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it
man.
hits on 4s, so you miss both shots. That's how it works.
You might miss both shots. I'm out here.
Right.
This is the army of. This is not an army of people who do not have faith in the 4-up emperor.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. It hangs in every list. Do you take it in Host of Ascension, Danny? Does the truck still make it in there?
No.
No!
I'm not running one, but for a very specific reason, which will not mutter today.
Okay.
But I do agree. I think it's well, I think it's
It's
A
just-
tier. I don't think
it's so-
it's hard to
yeah.
justify a truck S tier, but it's definitely one of the more consistent.
It's a headline grabber, and we'll assess it as our other S tier candidates make themselves known, and we'll
I think
go
it should be
from
the
there.
top of S tier for the entire time, then we'll move it at the end. But anyone who
Yeah.
screenshots it should.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We've deployed the truck. It's in a good position. It's all good. Danny, you get to pick next, mate. What is your next unit choice?
The Magus.
Oh, god damn it. I was going to try and get the Magus. Okay, where's the Magus going, Danny?
Sorry, I've got a cough. Everyone will want to say D tier, but I don't think anything in here is D tier. I think C tier for the Magus.
Okay.
And now you say that right, but I think it has some weird uses. So at least in Xenocreed you get the full reroll strat off it. That's pretty fucking good. All right.
It dies well.
It dies really well, right? It's very effective.
Okay.
So that sounds like dies well D tier, right? If we're gonna have a D tier, it's good. The Magus is what it's for, right?
I would agree with you, but I've heard Danny once before say he wanted a Magus in the list.
So this
Danny,
is it.
Explain the
there have been games where the Magus has actually really won me a game because of the being able to just reduce a what's it called? Just unbattle shock somebody at the start of a phase.
Okay.
That
is a powerful ability, right? That is a useful thing.
Yeah, so I used to have one in Sanctic because against melee armies or against Tyranids, it was really good for me to take the trucks, and then when they pop the trucks, I can interrupt with the Magus, giving them, at the start of the fight phase.
Oh, you know what? Whatever. I like that. That's actually quite fun.
So many hoops to jump through.
That is so GSC. Right, the Magus GSC, because that is proper GSC. Four-dimensional chess. Give myself a migraine and maybe it works.
4 generations in the making. That's a plan that, that's a Benny Gesserit. Our plans are measured in centuries level. No, I can't. I refuse. Bottom of heat.
It
fucks that if they're thinking, I kill the transport, take the point. You're like, no, I unbattle shock, and now I've got OC20 on this point. You didn't know it was going to happen. It's got so many applications. I want to run it now.
It sounds really, really stupid, but I had a track record of I had problems where I keep getting battle shocks and I couldn't do stuff. So I was like, fuck it, I'm taking a Magus, 50 points, and you know what? I won a few games because I could actually battle shock. And I was
it's the most Danny thing I've ever heard. I plan around failing battle shocks and then unbattle shock my Magus. And it just won't good units and it won't matter.
It was. So the only thing I will say though is that picture goes in D tier because it's a male Magus. The female Magus she good.
Swag.
She can go in the C. Yeah.
She walks. She walks.
That bold bitch can go in C. I love her.
All right.
And this is what the fuck are we doing?
I have to go sooner than half 8.
Guys. I'm gonna have a run at the lower tiers as well, and I'm gonna have a look and see what you guys think. If I put the Nexus in D at the moment, would anyone complain?
I I probably would put him in a C because his new change is better, right? Ines, you would agree?
I mean, he's what? He can move a blip when he's on the board, which nobody
Mhm.
uses because we don't
Which
really use
nobody
blips.
uses.
And he's
Am I
once
the
per
only one
battle
who
round
uses
when it comes to
blips?
PvP. Like, we use blips when we have to, not because we want to.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
It's
and
still
he can
better.
make a strat cheaper, right? Is that his thing now?
So I think it
And I
would take
just
Battle round,
don't.
not turn anymore, which is worse as well.
Yeah, I just don't. He was obviously in. I was using him all the time in the index, and with the changes around him, when you already want to take so many characters, and you already need your Magus because you need to make Battle Shock and Sword disembark plays with your OC. I think that the Magus is probably bumping him out now, based on your case, Danny.
I think the
And
Magus is worse than the
Yeah.
Nexus. I would consider the Nexus in host list if I was playing a Primus unit and I wanted
Yeah,
to.
who fits in
But
the host list?
I
Just
would
like
not
the
play it over. I would not play a Magus in a million years. I have considered a Nexus in some host lists. And I
well,
would
So,
say that
some of
is.
us. All right,
Danny, you've
some of
written
us can't roll
host
Battle
list.
Shock, all right?
Does the Nexus make it in any of your host list, Danny?
No.
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 Okay.
So they're both in.
It's 60 fucking points. Why would I want to
Alright.
pay 60 points? Like, come on.
Okay. So we know
That's a
that these
Metamorph.
guys. We know these guys are doing a lot of work propping up the bottom of this tier list right now. So we'll put them there. We can think about exactly how we feel about both of them later. But right now, Danny's literally come up with a play that I hadn't even thought of, and I'm delighted. And it's so me because it's so stupid and so unnecessary that I really like it.
It's shit until it works, and then you're like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
god, I'm a fucking genius.
No, I don't. No, we don't run units to do that, guys. Just play the good things.
I know it is just like they won't be happening because they'll be dead and I'll be over there.
Okay.
Me and
This
Ennis
is already
are
like
not the
what have I stooped down into?
We have very fundamentally different approaches to how we would try to win games.
Surprising nobody. Right, Inish, you've got a chance to claw this back into some degree of sensibleness. Then.
Okay.
So off you
Can
go.
I stick the Clamavus in B tier and nobody gets mad at me?
Yes, you absolutely can. Justify yourself. Let's go.
Okay, the Clamavus is like extremely fine, but I'm never excited to have one. I'm always just like, do you know what? If I had 75 points, I would just take another Hand Flamer squad instead of putting it out of Clamavus in. If I had exactly 50 points, I'd be like, maybe between this and a few other things, and trying to find 10 for a Calamorph. I always sit there and I'm like, one is, you could put one on your home objective and be like, okay, Hypercrypt, Aquilons, etc. can't get back there now, but they're still going to do something to you because you're not screening everything against a 3-inch drop with an Armavus. It's a tiny base. It doesn't screen that much space. It's not an infiltrator unit. It's like the Navigator for guard. It's okay. It's not crazy. It doesn't actually stop Aquilons doing something. It just restricts what they can do. And for that, I'm never just like, my lists aren't like, Aquilons are good right now. There's a Clamavus in every list. It's just not how the Clamavus doesn't do enough for that. So
also, I think we're not necessarily that problematic. Aquilons aren't that much of an issue for us as other armies.
Sure, but it's like everything with the 3-inch deep we're like Inceptors.
Right? True, but I do think that naturally, the way as an army, we just don't really struggle with Grey Knights as such, or Hypercrypt or Inceptors. So I think
Hypercrypt is the one I would like him for sometimes. I'm like being able to actually just use that to edge the space for like the big uppy downy.
Yes, you need a Clamavus to lock out a Monarch.
If you're as bad at the game as I am, then yes, you do, because it's difficult. But yeah, that's exactly what I found with him. The little base doesn't actually cover as much ground as you would think anyway, so he doesn't actually have that same shutdown effect that like an infiltrator unit would or something like that. The Battle Shock is cute, but then he ends up being too close to the lines, although there is some play there. But again, it's the exact same thing these other characters come up against for me, which is just that I would like several other characters with those remaining points, or just another rezzing unit if I've got enough points for that. And yes, I think B is solid.
Why aren't you putting anything in the actual tier maker?
I think we just can't see it as it updates. By the way, Danny, Tom can.
Oh, right.
We don't
Rest assured, Daddy, it is updating.
Are you sure? Because if we can't see it, then the others can't see it.
I think it is updating. I think you're okay. I could on my one. I can
on
see
the
it.
ground. They're all in the.
Imagine the scenes when I go to John and ask him to just edit in a tier list being done and put it on top of it.
Oh, yeah. It'll be great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
battle shock ability, obviously, Danny has six head plays around using it to like stall his opponent out. However, if
Yeah.
your opponent's dead, they don't have OC anyway. So
Yeah.
We-
Well, Danny's
we
actually
are
got his
very
Magus
different.
to unshock it for the mirror, when the Clamorous shocks him. That's what. That's why the Magus is his anti-Clamorous tech.
You joke, bro. One day,
No, I know.
we'll play, and you'll be like, "This Magus is fucking broken."
Same rule for when I played as his team and your team. Bob, I'm not letting either of you anywhere near me. I don't need that in my life. All right. Okay. So, Danny, it is your turn. Where are we going next?
Biophagus.
Okay. Right. Let's see it.
I'm gonna go with S tier.
Okay.
Because he is useful in absolutely every detachment, and I think the level of buffs he brings to melee is insane.
Yeah.
Also, you have no idea how many things I've killed when he just goes fucking mental for one phase. Right, I've soloed like 5 Deathwing Knights before. They all failed this save. And it's like bang. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
like 2 saves
it's,
took 11 damage.
you get to tell them that it's a syringe that did that as well. That's the thing. It's just good fun, right?
My favorite reaction is when you explain what it does and they're like, "What?
Yeah.
How many points is he?" It's like 50. I've got. Can take it. Nah, he's really good. His impact on the game is big, I would say.
Obviously, the lethals is just fantastic, and then, again, you can ramp that up, can't you, in host to get 5s as well, which is super, super nice. The +1 to wound just helps a lot of the infantry units go and play with like most infantry units, which is good fun.
I think it's his flexibility as well, because he can join Acolytes, Metas, and Aberrants, whereas, for example, the Abominant can only join Aberrants. So I think that, or the Locus can only join Acolyte buddies and Metamorphs. So I think that flexibility is what makes him the best buffing character, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoy him.
I don't know. I'm always a little less. I feel like he's only really at his best in Biosanctic and is only okay outside of those. I would probably put him like top of A tier, but I feel like everyone cares at that point.
Thinking host is fucking sublime.
I've not played much. I've not played much.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I guess being able to set lethals to 5-ups is really funny. Well, that's okay. At the moment, we've got him and the truck scrapping some space. Let's let this thing take shape. Let's get a few more on the board, and then we can start making some quality of life adjustments. Right? We need the meta to sell.
The truck wins the 1v1, which is very important. So.
Yeah, the truck just tank shocks him straight off the board. So that's the end
of it. What are we doing? He's got 3 wins.
Yeah, he doesn't need the truck. Right. Okay.
No, my boy.
Okay, I'm gonna go for I think we're going to go...
Not a lot of choice, though.
There's so many units. I think we've got another fairly low value character. So I'm trying to find the sort of lower ceiling first. So let's go with the Locus. I think the Locus is fine, but I think he's thoroughly C tier because he just always ends up supplanted. Like, fights first just isn't something that matters all that much for the way GSC play. There are some cute things you can do with it, but ultimately he is not particularly dangerous. You're already playing a game where you're trying to hit on your terms the vast majority of the times, and then the units he can actually lead are really fragile. So there's a lot of setup involved and it's difficult. So I much prefer making them do a lot more damage, which is what the Biophagus can do. Than the Locus. I don't know what you guys think.
If he had the Scout like the Icon Ward, I would be a little more excited about him.
Oh, that would be fun.
A truck with Metamorphs would actually be kind of interesting, but without him, it's kind of not. Like losing the truck, the Scout access on Metamorphs is worth it when you have a Biophagus making them do a ton of damage, deep striking them. But for the sake of that, no, I'm not all that interested.
Yeah, the only thing he really has going for him is being, I think, the cheapest thing in there, which is 45 points. So sometimes you're like, oh, I've only got points. Normally I'm like, I guess I do the list again so that I don't have 45 points and make sure that I'm not having to take a Locus.
The Biophagus doesn't cost 45 points, it costs 10 minutes rewriting your list.
Yeah. Very, very good. Alrighty, let's bring it back round to Innis again.
So surely that's D tier, right? Like we never want it as well. Like D tier there for a reason.
I think the Nexus is as bad personally, but I guess let's put them both in D for now. That's fine. They can hang out together.
Okay.
It is your turn.
I think we should maybe talk about an actual unit for the first time. So let's put the Jackal outright, or what are they called? Atalan
Atalan
Jackals.
Jackals.
There we go. Let's put them solidly in B tier as well. I want to round
Oh,
out
that's
the
a
middle.
good shout. Yeah.
They're
Okay.
extremely fine. They don't do much. They do a lot of nothing. They're pretty good in Outrider or an Outlander, but I never really want the third squad because I run out of shit to do with them after the second one. I'm like, first two squads, you've got a job. Go, scout, move, block. They're bad at coming back. They're super slow. They do tons of nothing. But I don't need three squads to do tons of nothing, and I don't really want them outside of Outlander. And their character's bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to that. But yeah, I think that's completely fair because it's like in Outlander they have a role, and then as soon as they're not even doing that, the appeal drops right off.
And in every other detachment, I'm just kind of like, I just don't see the point.
Yeah, you're like it's an opportunity to do a smattering of mortal wounds and then be killed. Pretty much. What do you think, Danny? Yeah.
No, I agree.
Danny's in agreement here.
Fucking shite unit.
All right, Danny, it is your turn now.
Let's go with Rock Grinder.
Oh yes, you do like a Rock Grinder. Where's this?
This is a very contentious one because a lot of people don't see the value, but for me, I think it's high B tier, low A tier. I don't know which one we can have a vote on where it goes.
I'll put him top of the Bs for now. I'm happy with that, and then let's see how it settles. But yeah, I think you can definitely make a case for it. Go on then, explain yourself.
I think. So he's quite expensive. However, he brings really good sort of anti, let's say, screen, which you don't necessarily want to always throw. Let's say by Santic, you don't always want to throw your pure strains at in some matchups, right? So the 2d6 flamer is really good at getting rid of a bunch of cultists when you pair that with like indirect. Additionally, he fights. He's got a decent rule, despite what anyone else says. That desperate escape test is still pretty good when it works.
That thing definitely does really frustrate a lot of units in the game that like to brawl with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. The melee is decent. It's not world breaking, but 8 attack, strength 10, damage 2 is not bad. It's got open top 6 still, and yeah, it's toughness 10, 3 up save. For 120 points, is basically what a dreadnought that carries people. And I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, so. I think that's completely fair. I think the issue I always tend to have with the Rock Grinder is that I'm sort of hoping it's going to be this thing I can put out somewhere and it can get me somewhere and it'll live. And that's not that ultimately isn't what it can do, right? It is not that kind of transport. It has to be used and pushed at the right moment in the game. It can
be an Outlander under the circumstances.
That's it. In Outlander, if you're picking like a lane and you know that there's not too much coming back at it, you've got a chance with the -1 damage. But I think that's the issue I find with it. It's just the setup and the finesse to it. But as you say, having a staging transport that is also actively dangerous and effective at a bunch of things in its own right.
I think it's really good as like a defensive sort of protective unit, so you can put it in a ruin, hidden, allow your aberrants or your pure strengths or whatever come out and get that extra 3 inches. It also gives you a bit of like screen protection. So if you're playing against an army and you've got stuff in reserves, you don't need to have them reserves. They can be in the transport and get transported, so
100%.
They're not locked out. But if someone comes too close while you've got a high press line, it can go and do some damage. And it being OC3 means it can protect your objectives. So I quite like it for that role.
And I think I liked your addition of it into Brood Surge because it, as you say, it gives you play into exactly the kind of armies who are trying to disrespect Brood Surge and push it back, right, and try and take up space.
Absolutely,
it definitely has a role for that.
It does have the always downside of it's not a unit that comes back in this army, which does mean that it does have the more points you put into your vehicles, right? Once you get into Outlander Claw style, I'm playing 10 vehicles in my Outlander list. That's 800 points on my list that can't come back potentially.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a downside to that. And there are some builds that just won't want it. Some builds that want to maximize the chance of getting cult ambush. Like I feel like they're one of those units that you're never going to be upset to have one, but you also don't need to have them, right? Like they're just this epitome of A tier. If you want them, they'll do their job. If you don't want them, you're never going to be like, okay, cool. This is I'm frustrated for lacking it.
Yeah,
very much so. And it is there. So there are a lot of fun in Outlander where it's just fun seeing like greater demons on points with one grindy boy, just like nope. I really want
an important rule is if you can't make a cult ambush roll, you can't fail a cult ambush roll. That's where I'm at right now.
Like there will be no disappointment because there was no
exactly.
All right. Okay. I think I'm gonna take an S tier candidate. I'm gonna take the Ridge Runner. I think the Ridge Runner moses up into S for me.
I think that's a true S tier candidate for
I
sure.
think
there are there's
I might
three separate
propose.
ones here. There's the Mortar
I
Ridge
might
Runner and the
propose
Laser Ridge
top
Runner,
of
which are
S.
S tier,
Yeah.
and then there's the
the
Ridge Runner,
Missile Ridge Runner,
which I've never seen. I don't know what it does, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh God, yeah. So the Ridge Runner, in one way or another, is in your Genestealers. You know it is, because the AP stacking is just incredible. It takes up valuable backfield space with the screening, with the nice footprint. But then obviously it's also got great offensive capability with the mining laser. You can push up. Scout move on a shooty platform is amazing. You can get angles. They are deceptively durable because I'm sure you guys have found it. They spend their life like one-on-oneing with things at funny angles, and you're like, "There's actually two of me, and there's only one of you." So actually, this isn't quite as stupid. This isn't quite as bad as it looks. They are swingy as hell. They drive me completely insane. But obviously, the mortars are a must-take, so they're already in there. And then I think the laser ridge runners can also have incredible games. They are more than capable of putting up absurd output. And the blast keyword is sometimes really, really funny and useful to have on good shooting mining lasers.
And the OC6 in Outlander, which is like, what the fuck?
Oh,
The number of times I'm just like holding my midfield objectives in Outlander, I'm just like, yeah, they're just there now, and you can't have them. And if they get tagged, I guess, fine. They'll shoot themselves out with their stubbers eventually. The most disappointing for me is the toughness 7 tank shock is just miserable. Every time you even remotely want to rely on that, you're just like, this isn't gonna work. 0 damage. Thanks. People definitely overestimate the Ridge Runner damage output, right? Like you're expecting 6 damage out of a pair of Ridge Runners. The average like toughness 10 target, and there's like a 1 in 4 that you kill like a Predator equivalent if you're AP4 nor cover. But all you have to do is put enough damage on it that you kill it with the thing that you're putting next to it, and just not overcommit them. And that's the thing people do, is they expect them to be like a solo shooting output. They're an 151 unit. If they die or they don't overperform, you wouldn't be mad at one Predator for underperforming, right? It's the same points value. Like
it's a combined arm piece, isn't it? And you have to use it in conjunction with other things.
But then taking them as a 2, though, it's the 8 wounds is actually really good, because most las cannons max damage is 7. So it takes like more than 2 to kill.
I get 1 on a wound a lot. The first one on one wound a lot of the time,
and they
you're just
don't
there like,
it's amazing.
Yeah. And then the mortar one is just 75 points, screen your backfield, +1 5 activations of a 0 CP stratagem for +1 AP, and that's the best thing in the army. It's the reason to play GSC for me, is the ability. Your backfield is just locked down. You have this +1 AP. They're so good. They're frankly undercosted.
Yeah, they are.
They don't need to know this.
Everybody knows this, Danny. Come on.
All right.
If they put the price up, they'll no longer be 75 points for £35 models, and they'll start to feel like a more reasonable army again.
They do. Yeah, I was going to say they've done a great job of selling us all Ridge Runners over and over the last few years. They've pulled that one off. Innes, what is your pick for next, mate?
Ooh, let's do Acolyte hybrids with auto pistols.
Okay. So the melee boys. I think that's this fella here. Cool. Okay.
I'm gonna stick them bottom of A.
I think that's a great show.
Really want 1 unit, and I occasionally have reason for like a big melee unit in specific metagames, but I'm not in love with them. But I think 1 unit is the thing that holds your home objective in every single list. It makes sense. You have to have a reason not to have this unit on your home objective. The CPA generation, I know Danny probably doesn't run them because he's never hit the 4-up in his life, but in general, it's just nice to have that 1 unit that smooths over your CP curve. It can brawl with the small things that go back there. If your opponent tries to send like a random, a rhino into your deployment to do establish Locus, they can go and mess it up. They've got the banner. They're pretty resilient to just like chip indirect. Very, very happy to just have them back there with 10 OC, holding my home, being dudes. And if they die, they might even come back.
Yeah, completely. I think they're really, really useful. Having the CP gen is great. And then I've really enjoyed the template using it. It's peak GSC, and it's like there's just so many things that can go wrong between picking it and getting it to do its thing. But if you can,
the wound, baby.
If you can connect with it, I find it very, very good into quite a nice range of things.
I think what's important with them as well is they're very useful in every detachment.
Yeah.
So whether it's a CP gen or just taking 10 as an anti-vehicle, or let's say maybe like an anti-chosen, etc., that kind of profile, they are just very useful in every detachment. So
yeah, I like the damage 3. The volume damage 3 just gives them. There's just certain things that, like, let's say aberrants volume. Yeah, it's all relative. But say, especially with the Biophagus, where it's +1 to wound, lethals, it puts on a decent amount into infantry. And then obviously, it does work for tanks as well. And then there's all the little idiots still to go after the demo weapons or whatever have gone as well. So I do enjoy this, and I enjoy it. It's just nice to be able to squeeze a couple of the 10-man with icon units in for the mini game that presents. With if you kill this completely, it's coming back. It might be coming back if you don't kill this. It's going to regen, etc., etc. And having some more OC2 is also great.
Yeah, they're nice in host for that reason as well. Like, they can be a little bit difficult to. It's hard to one-shot them. They then regenerate, or if you don't one-shot them and you try to tag them, they're just punching you, right? Like, they're not as happy being tagged in as like a neophyte squad might be.
Yeah, absolutely. But they are definitely, as you said, I think the more you built into this, the more you'd feel that fragility, which is really bad. Like, really, really, really.
They are ultimately still 13-point models, which does feel absurd because the unit feels fine at 65 points, but the model being 13 feels wrong. So
yeah, absolutely. And they're a great way of smuggling another Biophagus in if you can't afford more Metamorphs as well.
You know what? Actually, I looked at. I was looking at a list from, I think it was like start of 9th before we got a 9th edition codex, and 5 acolytes was 40 points.
Yep.
40 points.
That was just such a good time. It was a good time. 40-point trash that could, like, 3-inch deep strike or whatever it was. Oh no, that was the enhancement back then, but still, it was just. I do miss the really disposable trash units.
Yeah,
we still have so many
of them because we had so many neophytes. Like, my neophyte squad's 180 points and my bikes are 200. Leave me alone.
Unbelievable.
Back when we paid points for our seismic cannons in the neophyte,
it's like 15 points a seismic.
It was 15. Yeah, the gun cost more than the gun carrying it.
But it's a fucking good gun.
Yeah, it really was. It's definitely the most valuable thing. He doesn't matter at all. All right, okay, Danny, popping it over to you, mate.
All right, I'm going to go with the contentious one again that everyone's going to disagree with, but Metamorphs are, for me, I can see it in his face already. They are high A tier, I would say.
Okay.
The only reason I'm not saying S tier is because Innes will say fuck no. So I'm saying high
100% will, yeah. You can't put the Biophagus and the Metamorph in S tier because they're only S tier because of each other in that situation. So one of them's got to be bad.
Yeah, I would say the Metamorphs are a little bit worse than the Biophagus, but they're still definitely high A tier. They are just a cracked unit, in my opinion.
Yep, they're very good with a truck. They're very good with the Biophagus. They're a good synergy piece for the S tier things.
Yes.
The
And
S tier things make them good, and they're the best thing.
Absolutely, and they are so relevant in so many detachments. There's an argument to not take them in Outlander, but if you ever need a melee piece, it's probably a more consistent one. So
I was not that impressed with them in Outlander, but they're completely fine in host and they're great in Bioscientic. I struggle with them a little bit in Bioscientic because they are a little bit. They're the thing that the most wants you to like spend CP on them and invest in them heavily. And if you are kind of like you get caught in that CP spiral, it often feels like they're not doing a ton. Or if they just get caught out and die, it's quite easy for them to just like be quite fragile. The blood surge is obviously not as good as it used to be after the updates. Not that it was ever good before. But they're definitely just one of those things that if you put the time and the resources into them, they'll do their job. If you don't, they can be a little underwhelming.
If you pick the wrong targets, then they do whiff because of the low AP, low strength. But if you pick the right targets, then they can kill God basically.
I have those turns where I feel like I'm stretched on the extra AP and stretched on where I want +1 to wound against monsters' vehicles, and they can often be one of the candidates where you're like, I need it on here, or they're not going to do anything. So I think that's where they are. Yeah, they do need the sort of force multipliers to get them there. But I love them into marine bodies though. Like they're just so fun into anything 3-up save, 2-3 wounds. Like they just absolutely chew through it.
Also, Bulgrin, they absolutely destroy Bulgrin. Not mostly because of Biophagus, because like 3 himself.
But that was literally I played guard earlier on today, and that was about turn 1 or 2 was the Metamorphs just walking through Bulgrin. Like, that's what they do. It's just so good.
Hello, boys.
I think he failed all 4 saves on the Biophagus, and you're like, that's a mistake. That's a mistake.
Just gets Thanos snapped.
Yeah, exactly. He just absolutely goes to town. Yeah, they're good. my favorite thing with Metamorphs is that people stay in combat with them to shoot them off, and you're like, no, they're just that tiny little bit stodgier than you think they are. Don't do that.
You just get like 2 or 3 to survive with an icon. It's like, oh god, 3 of them.
So good. Yeah, exactly. So many times.
They're the only unit I'll roll for triple feel no pain on. I'm just like, 3 wounds, one of them's got this every time.
Yeah. I like it in Biosanctic because although the charge delivery gets lost when they come back, they are one of those units where you're like, well, if I want a load of flamers somewhere, that's useful. If I want some melee or a push thing for next turn, that's useful.
Yeah, and it becomes a bit of a pain in the ass for them to have to deal with them, because it's like, even if you bring them back, you don't make your charge, they just sit there. You're still going to move places if you put them near an objective. They then have to try and dig them out. Otherwise, it's still 32 attacks, damage 2 on the without the Biophagus. So there's still a bit of a threat. And then shooting them, they blood surge, they feel no pain. They're just an annoyance, is what they are, and I love them for that.
Yeah, I'll shout out the worst thing I've ever tried to do in the world, though. Trying to kill a Norn emissary that was Armoric attempting next to a Maliceptor. No, don't do that. Don't try it. It's not worth it.
That's like their absolute worst possible scenario.
Oh my god,
man!
Right. 2 damage.
I'm gonna take the Patriarch. I'm gonna take the Patriarch next. I think that's where we're gonna go. I am gonna put the Patriarch. I think he has to probably go. This is actually legitimately quite difficult. For me, I think he probably ends up a B.
Yes, I would
feel
agree.
like about here.
Innes is not like.
I'm very curious.
Yes.
Go on.
No, go.
You disagree. Okay. So for me, I think I absolutely love him, and he's essentially also including Biosanctic. I think he's very, very good there. I think now that he is only 75 points now for a unit that I think essentially can blend a little Marine squad even without all his enhancement and other things, and is obviously quick and actually annoying to shift just in his own right. But I think realistically, there's not that many detachments you'll actually use him in, which takes him right down. I still think I can imagine actually having application and use for him in other detachments in ways I just can't really for the bikers, because he is actually some damage with some dev wounds and some claws, and pure strains advanced and charging with some dev wounds is also very nice. But yeah, that's kind of where I see him for that.
Yeah,
it is.
I would probably put him like top of C tier and his enhancement in top of S tier, and just like they're not the same data sheet. Stop pretending, because it's so like me throwing away like your 150 point warlord character on turn 1, right? With that, like using them aggressive, like you want to use pure strings in any other detachment. And that becomes difficult for me to justify. He's not really worth ingressing in his unit, right? Like, there's better things to ingress in every detachment. It just becomes really hard for me to be like, all right, I want a Patriarch in this list. I'm already like generally I see character lighter than most people, I think, with GSC. You know, I don't want to play like 17 characters and attach something like that, and putting skirmish characters in my army that doesn't want to give up assassination at the best of times. Things like that can be difficult, especially with like assassination being like a fairly reasonable secondary to pick against stuff like Outlander. If you do have
definitely, yeah,
it's like one of those things that I don't love it when people pick that against me. It starts getting sketchy. So it's an army that I would rather not feed more into that. So I think the Patriarch himself, like the biomorphic adaptation, is cracked, right? S tier every day of the week, but we're talking about the Patriarch data sheet, and I don't think it's quite as good.
That's fair.
I agree. I wouldn't use him outside of Biosanctic. He has absolutely no place. So I agree with Vanessa. Let's put him in C tier.
I'm going to defer to my wiser masters and put him down to C. There we go. Look
what him in your host
scrapping with the Magus in C tier.
One of them is not like
Magus.
Okay.
The Magus, which is entire 40k career in 10th, was one line of text in a Discord that Danny posted once and then never actually used.
He gives you 4 rerolls in Xeno Creed. That's a stratagem. That's
that to be fair, that is legit.
That stratagem is as powerful as biomorphic adaptation, right?
Yeah.
You joke, but like we all know the Magus is like the four-armed emperor in this case.
Sauce.
Like
it's the secret sauce.
Yeah, it's the secret sauce, man.
And he's not just simping for a plastic model.
I've got a lovely painted Magus. I just want to fucking use him. All right.
You see yourself in the Magus's bald head.
And that's what it is. He's everything I wish I was.
Yeah, we need to get Danny wearing long robes. He can wear like cosplay at ITT, dress up as a Magus with a staff and a
Danny
robes.
in a toga with a wooden staff with a little monkey toy on top
a
of it.
little purple like monkey. I'm here for it. It's got to happen. Try hard narrative team, mate. Make it happen.
Barney the dinosaur with some extra arms stapled onto it.
Oh man, it'd be perfect. All right, guys. Before we launch into the next go round, we will stop very briefly for some plugs because it's good to do some plugs. Please do hit like, subscribe, leave us a comment if you haven't already, and please remember that you can, if you're so minded, come and support us as a YouTube member over on 6 Plus as well. We massively appreciate it. And of course, Innes, just in case anyone is not aware of your own 40k shenanigans, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find more of me at StatCheck. We're youtube.com/StatCheck. We do a live show, we do data slate reactions, all the usual stuff, as well as having like 5 other shows on the network. I've truly lost track now. And then a bunch of other things we could do. We track the 40k ELO. We do a metadata dashboard where you can have a look at all of these singles results from GT level performance and kind of compare, contrast, and play about with the data in a really nice visualization on Tableau. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, check out our website, which is stat-check.com.
Amazing. Brilliant. Okay, on we go. And as a reward for your excellent plug, you now get to pick a data sheet. What are we doing?
Acolytes with Hand Flamers S tier.
Oh, he's taken both the Echo squads. Greedy bastard. Yeah, straight in S tier, mate.
Doing units. You guys keep doing characters.
Right.
Units
do they go ahead of the Ridge Runners is the question, or do they not?
No.
No, I don't think they do.
No, because I play the army for Ridge Runners. I have Acolytes in my army because of Ridge Runners.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
I need both of them. I don't leave home without at least 3 Hand Flamer Acolyte squads, but I can see a world where you would maybe run, like, I've played up to 6. The 10-mans are a little less popular right now, but they're still okay. But yeah, 5-man Acolyte Hand Flamer squads are the bread and butter of how you score points, how you get secondaries. They do all the stuff while you're beating your opponent into submission. The Acolytes and Hand Flamers are the things that like holding your army together, while the Ridge Runners make all the killing happen. They make the scoring happen.
Yeah, exactly. They make the scoring. They're fantastic at scoring themselves. They're fantastic at bullying exactly the kinds of units that like to score as well. They're really good at stripping away the chaff in an army that you don't want your heavy hitters to have to deal with. And obviously, with reroll wounds on objectives, they also can just sometimes just push damage through anything in the game, which is also really enjoyable.
I still really enjoy the Sergeant getting that 5 attacks.
He's my favorite. It's like you've got another character in there. You've got here comes this guy with his 5 attacks. As long as he can hit, he's really going to hurt.
Because you fired a Ridge Runner at him 20 minutes ago. He's just like, what now? Well, like, you see this little thing next to you that says +1 AP? Yeah, it means that guy's going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so fun.
I find my Flaccos are better at making the 5-up to come back late game than anything else I have. Those guys really like a return. They really like another go round, and they're often extremely useful at that time in the game when they can get into places they couldn't before, and they start to really hurt. So yeah, I absolutely love them. They're incredible. I've used the 10-man a little bit with the demos. It's a thing. It does some damage. It's another one you can add it with the melee echoes as like. It's just palpitations trying to get it to its place to do its thing in the first place. But if you do, you won't be you won't be disappointed with what it does.
I think that can be really good in like a meta choice. So if there's a lot of marine bodies around you, then that can really pop off, especially in host. But yeah, just 5-man acolytes with flamers is really where you want to go.
Yeah, either 4 flamers and a banner or 5 flamers, just depending on what
always a banner. I always like to go a banner.
Where do you come down on the banner, Innes? Are you a banner guy or not?
I have different opinions depending on what the goal of the unit is. In my Biosantic list, I tend to find that I want the banners on most of them. So I run 3 banners, 1 without a banner, with the idea being that army is kind of threat overloading your opponent. You're putting a lot of stuff in your opponent's face that's the same kind of defensive profile that wants the same kind of guns to kill. And therefore, it's a lot more likely that you'll have like 1 or 2 of them sitting around, or that you'll be charging into things with them and tagging things and restricting things where the banner's a bit more useful. I still run 1 with all flamers because sometimes you're just going to drop the unit down directly in front of something that you need dead, and it's nice to just have the 5 flamer button, kill a thing, know that it's going to die back, right? You're just dropping in the open in front of your opponent's army, and you want, or you're like rapid ingressing into an Overwatch is a thing that unit can do as well, with just a little more efficacy. So I like having 1. In my Outlander, I'd run, at the moment I'm doing 4 no banner, 2 with banner for the same kind of thing. The 2 that go without banner are the ones that kind of just go in the transports, they can like disembark behind a wall and then heal onto an objective, things like that, which is nice to have access to. They go inside with rock grinders, but then the 4 with flamers tend to just go into like very rested positions because that army doesn't tend to have a lot of stuff in your face that's like diverse threat profiles. It's very much like there are tanks that get anti-tank guns and there are infantry that get infantry guns, and like not much crosses over, so it's much easier to confirm kills against those units in Outlander. So I tend to like having just slightly more flamer output in that army. So it varies a little bit. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It just kind of comes down to what you're looking for out of them and what you're using them for.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. They're fantastic unit. It's just little purple rubrics.
They might be the second best infantry unit in the game behind Aqualons right now.
Yeah, they are super, super good. Yeah, mine spend a disproportionate amount of time dueling with Aqualons these days.
Mine spends a disproportionate amount of time dead, but
Yeah.
I love having 3 dead piles for dead, permanently dead, and dead, but in a banner.
Different levels of dead in GSC. All right, Danny, your pick next.
You know what? Let's go with one of my favorites. Let's go with the Abominant.
Okay, where's he going, Danny?
I'm going to put him low A tier.
Okay.
Because, and here's my argument. I'm finding good uses of him because of his point cost, 75 points to be able to resurrect on a 2+, whilst carrying 4 last kind of melee attacks. Is pretty useful in a lot of detachments when you just want something that is it's really good against armies that cannot do multi-phase damage, right? So against Tau, or like say against World Eaters, or something like that. So I'm actually finding him very useful in Host, in Xenocreed. I've run him in my Outlander list when I took Outlander to a tournament a long time ago, and I run him in Biosanctic, and I just find that he's just quite reliable in the sense that he goes in, he can kill something, he can die, but then he can res, and he's still holding an objective, or he's still just being fucking annoying.
Your abominants are killing things?
He does one of 2 things, guys. Okay, he goes straight through attack, and you don't need to roll any of the aberrants, or he completely bounces. There is no in between.
So I'm consistent. I'm consistently bad at Cult Ambush, but I'm very fucking good at Abominant doing damage.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Nice. I've never not had one get back up as well. I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I definitely have. I've had a game where not a single one rezzed, and I was like, okay, great.
Okay, good talk. I agree with you that the phase mini game is super powerful into a whole bunch of armies. Like, it is a useful thing to have, and it does open up some plays for scoring as well. I've not run them solo, but I was thinking about it just before moving to Brood Stage, where obviously at that stage you're like, right, with Aberrants is the way. But I can definitely see a place for them outside of purely Brood Surge, and obviously in Brood Surge they are really, really good fun.
I think 75 points for a toughness 6, 5 wound, 5 up, feel no pain, 5 up save, sure. And like for attack last cannon, that reses on a 2+ is just it's a bit too cheap, in my opinion. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it seems reasonable. The AP is a little low. The hitting on 3s really sucks, but they're not expensive. You kind of have to take it in the context that it's given. They connect about the same as a Ridge Runner squad in shooting if they hit combat, and they're half the price, but they obviously don't hit. Right?
Yeah, sometimes you have more attacks than a Ridge Runner unit.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the lesser appreciated things for me about them is, especially if you're playing into an army like, as you say, Danny, something like Tau, where you're going to get multiple bites with it. It's just, if they've gone forwards, they then screen space really well as well. I really enjoy them. For at least the important reserves turns of the game, I've got this guy wandering up this flank. He's annoying. Stuff can't just turn up here in support. So I think they're really, really useful. It's a real ride with the Abominant, but they're definitely fun. I might carry on in that vein and go with the Aberrant. And the Aberrant, I think, is probably not quite as all-round useful as the Abominant. And I mean, I think they work in hosts if you take a brick, right, to use the sort of combinations there and use the buff boosted charge. And I think they work in Biosanctic. I've not really seen them used, and I can't really imagine a case for them in other ones at the moment. Maybe if you wanted some counter melee in Outlander, but I just don't. I think it's a lot of points once you get up on Aberrant. So for me, probably middle of B is where I'm feeling right now. Any objections?
You go.
No, I think that seems fine. They're really good in Biosanctic. They kind of need the +1 to wound stratagem to really do tons of damage outside
I
of actually with the Biophagus in host, where again I think that's more on the Biophagus than it is on the aberrants.
Yeah.
The aberrants themselves, they're very inconsistent on and they're also really high volatility on when they come back or not, including, and 10-mans are even worse for that. It's also just like hard to get a 10-man to die before the 4-up goes away.
Yeah, before turn 3, right?
Like, if your opponent isn't like actively trying to kill them, they're just like, I've killed 7 of them. You can have 3 and then just leave them. You're just kind of like, yeah, that's probably true. Probably correct.
I agree, and I think that's one of the limiting factors. Is they are probably the easiest of the rezzing units to play around in that sense, because they're stodgy. They do tend to live through an activation, but not with much left if it's a really good unit.
Yeah,
at
it's
that
really hard to
stage,
suicide
no
them.
banner, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No banner, so there's no inherent risk there. No, much less risk of just whoops, you killed them all. Now I get to use.
And a lot of the things you'd want to suicide them into that can actually kill them in an activation, if you've got like 3 left, are the kind of data sheet that has a sweep attack, which means that they just won't kill you anyway.
Yeah, exactly that. And so that's many's the game where there's like one guy and the Abominant limping around trying to affect things. And
they definitely have the biggest case of lose to tape measure in GSC. Where it's like my opponent is 18 inches away from me and there is nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, exactly that. I've definitely found that, especially the forward deploy unit as well. I've found a bit of a love-hate relationship with in terms of its value sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's
quite
sort of
losing games with Bioscientific.
I think it's one of those. Yeah, it's as you say. It's just once it's down, it can be played around. That's the thing with it, and because it's not coming in from reserves, it's harder to get it into more interesting places. But obviously, as a defensive piece, it is lovely.
They are the easiest thing to use the go back and reserve strat on in Bioscientific. If your opponent is not in Bioscientific, in host, if your opponent's not careful, they are one of the few units that can actually consistently do that. Or they will at least lock down space, which is a meaningful thing that they have.
100%. Awesome. Okay, Innes, taking it back to you, my man.
Okay, shall we stick the Jackal Alpha in C tier?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to go your favorite one then.
Yeah, so the Jackal Alpha is right? You're putting it at C tier? Whereabouts?
I'm going to put C tier. I can't see the graphic. Above the Nexus and the Magus, but below the Patriarch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Patriarch is top of C for me. The reroll ones is okay. The Fire and Fade is garbage. It doesn't trigger the mortal wounds. You don't want to attack her. Like if you run her solo as like a bad version of a lone operative to give your Ridge Runners rerolls. And honestly, just run another Ridge Runner. Stop fucking about. Or just accept, accept
what if I've already maxed my Ridge Runners?
You have to accept the inconsistency in your heart, Danny. Like if you are not a true believer, that's why you roll ones. She's quite funny in what's it called? The Brute Brothers one, because you can have Ridge Runners sitting on 2 rolling ones, which is almost funny, but it's not good enough to actually do.
That's the thing that baffles me with it, because it's like, on paper that's a great buff. That's something I can see why you'd want it, and yet I never.
It's
never
just kind of there's not enough stuff to buff with it, right? Like you're buffing to 300 points of shooting by bringing in another 60-point character.
Yeah, and you're rolling all 2s anyway because it's Ridge Runners. So.
Sure. It starts giving your opponent a real incentive to be like, okay, so smoke. And you're just like, God damn it! I already hate it when you do that. Please stop it.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I agree with you. I do. I have used her, and I'm using her in a TTS tournament at the minute because it's quite an open table. So I have actually just 6 Mining Laser Ridge Runners and her, which kind of works quite well. But outside of that, if you're not on Planet Bowling Ball, her use goes down quite dramatically, I would say.
She's very fragile. She has to have line of sight. Otherwise, you have to attach her to a Jackal squad and then use the Jackal squad badly, right? Like, you have Jackal squad doesn't play defensively. It's just not... She just does... She has a bit of, like, score energy with herself. Like, nothing really works well with how she plays.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, Dan, is that there are 3 in your Crucible of Battle GSC list to take advantage of the shooting lanes at ITT. It's your turn now, my man. What would you like?
I'm going to go Sanctus.
Okay, Sanctus is baller. Where are you putting the Sanctus?
I'm going to go Sanctus Dagger, high B tier, Sanctus Sniper, low C tier.
Okay. So averaging out middle of B. Is that fair?
Yeah, okay, sure.
I've only got the sniper. That's what we'll do. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, well, it's a fucking dagger, man. Like, who takes a fucking sniper? It's useless.
I mean, the
snipers in this game are fucking
fun.
useless.
The reactive move feels fun on it. I'm not gonna lie.
But alright, so...
More.
Well, this is it, right? If you're gonna reactive, get a killer morph.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the reactive move on the Sanctus doesn't work if they deep strike, so it's kind of fucking. They can get into the lone operative anyway. So
Sure,
I
sure.
rarely find that many uses of it. The sniper's fucking useless because any character that's 3 wounds you kill anyway, and any character that you want to kill is 4 wounds or more.
It's for the mirror. It's for the Biophagus.
No, it's for the Magus.
You got to stop them battle shock you, so you're
You've got to stop
shock.
all the
Yeah.
you got to stop the Magus and the Clamorous, man. That's the
We need
gig.
to do a GSC mirror where you have to use every single character in the book
Oh my God.
and play them all against each other for all the big brain plays. Points
I love
determined
that.
not by primary but purely by big brain plays throughout.
Oh, class. But no, the dagger's really good, I find.
The dagger's
because
awesome, right?
The pressure on some armies. So before Thousand Suns got absolutely trashed, it was a great way of saying, hey, this damage to Infernal Master, if he comes within any distance I can get to you, he's fucking dead. He's good against things like Blood Angels or other, sort of marine body melee armies. So I kind of like him for that. And if you come into a matchup where he's not, he's 50 points lone op. He just sits there on an objective.
I think that's the thing. It's as the cheapest of the sort of lone ops, especially he's an infiltrator as well, right? It's very, very useful. The no Overwatch means in those clutch moments where you're trying to walk around to do important scoring, they literally can't stop you doing it as well.
Exactly.
Even if he has wandered into a dangerous place in a moment in the game, you're like, well, you can't actually stop him, and he can shut off an Overwatch for something else. So yeah, I see a lot of versatility in him. I think I've used him for the last couple of events, and I think he's very cool. I really enjoy him. There's another one which we haven't got to yet, which obviously I think I prefer broadly. But the Sanctus really, really good, and again,
Still have
50
4
points.
characters to talk about somehow. So
Yeah, we do. I don't understand
because it's Innes's favorite, so I thought I'll leave it.
We've still got so many. How have we not? Yeah,
I think we have one unit and 4 characters left to go through.
Yeah.
Feels like,
But yeah, in terms of lone ops, Sanctus is my favorite. He's not as damage impact as, like, say, the Calamorph or the Saboteur over a game, but I do find that in some matchups he can just really force plays that behavior that the opponent doesn't want to do, right? So like Thousand Suns keeping them absolutely at the back away from him with rubrics, or Blood Angels like going into a fight first captain is fucking hilarious because it's like, what are you gonna do? Do you pop your fight first once per game?
to stop just the Sanctus.
Kill a 50 point, or do you just lose your fight first captain? Like,
that's really funny.
People have an aneurysm trying to make this choice.
I enjoy that a lot.
So he's more of he's a tech piece, but the impact I find from him, I really enjoy. So
yeah, very nice, cool. I am going to take I think I'm going to go with the Humble Neophyte, and I'm going to bop the Humble Neophyte. For me, this feels like a low A situation, probably above the Abominant, because sticky objectives good, very, very good to have. They are a lot of OC that's dirt cheap that can res with an icon, and that sort of OC2 icon res problem, you have to kill it. If you don't kill it, it scores on points, is really, really nice. You can throw them at stuff, tie stuff up. It's got a little bit of shooting. Obviously in hosts that goes to some really stupid places damage-wise still, and can still be a little bit of like a Diet Coke version of what you used to have if that's what you're feeling as well. But I see them used in all of the detachments currently seeing play. And yeah, certainly since I started using them, they've become one of those things that I always want at least one. And ideally, I like to.
No, they love being in that Goliath truck.
They really do. The S tier truck carrying them.
Coming out with that Flamer plus Weber plus wound reroll, just be like, I don't care what you are, take 3 is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Very, very good.
I do like the Archie buddies. They do die, but I do like the fact the icon I think is really, really good. So in some lists, and the reason why I took 10 in my Biosantic to Bob was because the icon will resurrect 3 flat 3, so that's like 6 OC straight onto an objective. But there's no world where they can kill all 10 neophytes as well as all the other shit you're throwing at them. So they become disruptive. For 65 points, it's a steal, right?
Yeah, I've always been very happy with, at least with 2 squads in Outlander, and I would. They're one of those things you could very easily justify them in any detachment. They're just a good unit.
Absolutely, for sure,
100%.
Plus,
think
everything
they're
has
really,
grenade
really
in this army. It's great.
Yes, it is. It's a nice one for grenade. I'm very wary of grenade these days because I'm endlessly terrified of completely cocking up my CP spend with GSC at the moment, and so grenade's one of those ones where I have to have a real think with myself about whether I actually need it, especially in Biosanctic. I think in Outlander I was doing it every turn. She's like, well, I'm gonna get some damage from somewhere, so it's happening. Okay. Wonderful. Right, that brings it back round to you, Innes. We have only got 6 left. Just 2
Let's
whole rounds
do
left.
the Reductus Saboteur.
Oh, okay. This is an interesting one. I want to hear your take.
I'm going to
Let's
put
go.
her in D, right next to the Sanctus.
Okay.
She's fine.
Okay.
She doesn't do anything special. The fact that her aura is 9 inches for the explode now instead of 12 does make her a little fragile.
Yeah.
I love playing against one and driving up my Saboteur inside a truck and indirecting her to death. It's like, you can't shoot back, die. That's great fun. But yeah, she's got some neat tricks. I really like using her with Firing Deck on a Goliath to proc the wound rerolls on a unit on the other side of a wall. Once you disembark onto the other side of it, that's a great trick.
People really underestimate this.
Yeah, the indirect from her just like it adds up over the course of a game. Like you got 2 Ridge Runners and her firing, like you'll pick up, a couple scouts, make it much harder. Make them start taking battleship tests, or the cultists or haven't sticky your opponent's home objective yet, right? And she infiltrates, she blocks space, she grenades for free, which in an army that is very CP tight generally, it's just nice to have. I'm always impressed with her, but I'm never never really feel like I need her. Whenever I play with her, I'm always like, yeah, I could cut her, and I wouldn't be upset about it, but I'm always happy to have her when I'm playing with her. Sometimes she doesn't do much. She sits on an objective, she gets ran at, she does 5 more wounds to something, and then she dies. And that's fine. She's a 60-point character. She doesn't have to be crazy. She's the ranged output version of the Sanctus for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, she's a good candidate for sabotage quite a lot, which I just enjoy. I'm just happy. If the Saboteur is sabotaging, I just feel like
she should get a strat rule that lets
it's
her
all lining
complete
up. It's all lining up.
Turn.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy the Saboteur, and I do often miss isn't the right word because it's not like, oh, I wish I'd had her because that would have turned the game, but it's like there are a few nice little uses you get out of the Saboteur. A little bit more of an all singing, all dancing. There's a bunch of different things happening, unlike some of the other lone ops where it's like, you know what their role generally is.
Trying to crack an objective with a Saboteur and 2 Metamorphs on it is one of the most miserable things in the game for a chat unit as well. You're just like, can I? Will you? Can I?
Go on, do it. I dare you.
Make my day.
Yeah, make my day. Run that gauntlet, bad boy. All right, okay, Danny, your turn.
Let's go with Pure Strains.
Yeah, it's a good one. I tried to do them in my brain a second ago and I couldn't decide, so I'm going to see what you think.
Pure Strains, for me, simple A tier.
Okay, cool.
Low A tier, like
yeah.
the lowest A tier you could
I
low
think
A tier,
but yeah.
I think their impact on the game it just helps. Like they're useful in every detachment. The infiltrate allows you to get either a screen or clear a screen. I think clearing cultists early is very important.
They are so good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, being able to infiltrate and then go and do a cleanse turn 1 or go and do something or there's a lot of options that they can do. 75 points is not expensive for what they are. It's 10 wounds, 75 points, 5 up invulnerable save. They do die, but they're consistent.
Yeah.
They're consistent.
I really like them. I really enjoy them.
Impact,
yeah, I really enjoy them. They are speedy, so they're good at getting back in the game once they've gone out. Obviously, the 10-man with the Patriarch is a lot of fun as a bigger unit with a lot of dev wounds. It's nice to just delete Magnus. That just feels good. Everyone's happy when that happens. That's just like don't put Magnus there because he just dies actually. So that's they love the truck. They love that truck life.
Malstrain and Pure Strains are beautiful models, right, Innes?
Oh, those Malstrain models. Yeah. I'm so happy with them. They're so nice. Yeah, I like the Pure Strains. I played them my whole first tournament thinking they didn't have Deep Strike and bringing them in at a Blips exclusively. I was still willing to run them for a second one. So
yeah, they're real good. They're nice. I say they're nice. It's nice to just have that.
I opened the Tyrannid data sheet by mistake and just looked to see if they had Deep Strike and they didn't have it. I was like, oh cool, they don't have Deep Strike, and just went on with my day.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Fuck. Right, I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with the Kelemorph now.
Icon Ward, Kelemorph, Benefactus, and Primus. I think
that's it. So I'm gonna take the Kelemorph. For me, the Kelemorph. I feel like the Metamorph he's an A-tier boy. He's very, very good. He works in lots of the detachments. I think I'm probably going to put him down sort of lower middle, above the Abominant, but below Neophytes.
How fucking dare you?
Well, my case, it's just that
Hero,
No,
I've
it's
hero
fine.
of the Imperium, mate. That guy deserves it.
I've run lists without them and been perfectly happy. That's the main criteria. Like I think they offer something to every GSC list. They are really a really good unit, but also I've had lists where I haven't used them and I've not been like, oh, I wish I had a killer mob. So I think in that sense, although they can't, their flexibility is really good. They are cheap. They do a bunch of different roles and they are incredibly obnoxious. You also can write very well-functioning GSC lists that don't
They're
have
also
them.
really easy to play badly, I think, is one thing as
Yes.
well. They are probably, of every unit...
Okay, Innis has got to the heart of it. Thanks, Innis.
The hardest unit to use. And I don't mean that in like a... But like, there are some armies that it's just not worth it. It's not worth trying to go through that effort, and I don't need them in Biosectic, right? They do a job of point defense and like protecting your mid-range, but like, I'm not doing that with Biosectic. I'm pushing you in. I'm hemming you. Whereas with Outlander, like, you could run through my front lines if you wanted to. The Kettlemorphs are there to make it miserable for you, right? And I want that in that army because they need a bit of help. You know, I want to try to hold the objectives through sticky and implied pressure and transport holding them, but having like a lone operative on them that just like dissuades that a little bit extra is nice, but you have to get them into position to do that and support them doing it. And not every army needs that, wants that, can support it, and it's easy to get wrong. Sometimes they're just a damage unit in a truck that's just like 60 points to jump out and have full wound rerolls. Give one of them assault commando if you've got the points spare. That guy's my hero. He'll still miss 30 times. I don't know how. But yeah, they're completely fine. You're never just like, oh my god, I really wish I had 3 calories in this game. But you'll put 3 on the table and you'll be like, man, I really can make my objectives just that little bit more secure. And they're all sticky
Completely.
and there's a transport waiting to jump onto them. And I'm pressuring my opponent and your opponent runs out of time to deal with them sometimes.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely. Nice. And his battle shock is one of those ones that when it does cause someone to slip up, it can be just utterly hilarious.
Anybody who has a charge phase for advanced and charge stratagem.
So
you run at me, you're gonna use the strat? You gonna? Renegade Raiders? You use the strat, you're gonna get shot. And then they get shot, they battle shock, they can't advance and charge you, and you hold the objective anyway. You're like, yeah, I thought so.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, almost every single time. It's like with the Patriarch's aura one, where it's like, oh, here's an aura of you passing everyone. Okay, cool. I'll be go. That's the thing they did. Once per game, I can make more of you pass every single one as well, and I'm going to keep doing it. All right. Okay. Over to you then, Innes.
Okay, so we have Primus, Benefactus, and the Icon Ward. Well, I've not played with the Benefactus yet, so let's do the Primus, who is probably C tier.
Yeah.
I have reason to run him in Host of Ascension, and like I don't really think there's much cause outside of that. They're okay in Xenocreed, but I wouldn't touch one in Outlander. I wouldn't touch one in Biosanctic. There are better characters to put in any of the units you're running. The redeploy is okay, but it's not amazing. We don't have like the big 20-man infiltrating squad anymore to like block your opponent's infiltrators and then pull them back, right? You're not really doing that. You could maybe still get away with it in like a couple detachments, like Outlander or Biosectic could still kind of do it with like the Aberrant squad. You put it somewhere, you redeploy it if your opponent outdrops you, which typically does happen with these kind of transport heavy GSC armies. Like you tend to have like 10-ish units on the board. Most opponents will have more than that. So, you know, you could respond to it. Like it would be helpful, but you're not paying for an expensive character for that. He's expensive. He doesn't do much damage for his points. He is annoying. Like the most durable character we have that's not an Abominant or Patriarch, which is a dubious honor. But he has an invulnerable save. That's not common.
And he always feels like when you like the juice on the units he can go in, that'd be awesome. It would be cool to have, but it's as you say, it doesn't improve the ones you need enough in most of the detachments. And the redeploy, I often do think, you know, if they'd been really over the top with buffs and you'd ended up getting a whole additional unit, then maybe to get that redeploy action, it would have been nice to have him. But then once you're actually in that position, you probably take something else, right? What do you think, Danny?
No, I agree. I think out of Host and then 50% of Xenocreed, his impact is just 0. I just wouldn't take him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I want it on record that the entire Brood Coven are now cuddling next to each other in C tier. So, you know, we've done this right.
We've got distance between the Patriarch and the other two, but that's fine.
Patriarch
has longer arms. You can cuddle from further away.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, fine. Okay, Jackal Alphas can go ahead of them. That's okay.
Well, that feels wrong as well.
I know. It's just such a pile of dross down there. There's a lot of characters in the lower reaches here. Speaking of which, Danny, it's your turn.
I will go with the Benefactors.
Go on then.
So,
The sketchiest hazardous gun in the game.
Yeah, I love it. I just love it so much.
so I like the Benefactors. I like the Benefactors in actually almost any detachment. So I'm going to go B tier, and the reason for
Okay.
that is now that they've actually got a points drop, 70 points is not like terrible. It's 5 points cheaper than a Ridge Runner. 4 Ridge Runner shots on average. Yes, he or she kills himself afterwards. Fine, we'll get over that. But dropping down. No, I think what I've been doing, and I found a lot of good success with this, is I take them with 5 acolytes. And what that means is you can give one of the acolytes a demo charge. So then if she does kill herself, which is every single time an acolyte dies.
Okay, nice.
And that gets your banner going.
That gets your banner going.
Exactly. See, exactly. And then it allows them to do, all the rerolls. She, him, whoever the fuck it is, gets to reroll wind rolls on a las cannon, which is pretty helpful. And it is AP3 ignore cover. Now that's important. It's ignore cover naturally.
Yeah, exactly that. The shots are good, and I think there is more of a lots of mining lasers build there. I say that was the one where it's like with Outlander with the cheap one. You're like, I mean, put 3 in and see what happens. I'd be interested to try that at some point, just out of curiosity.
That is going to be that truck will die the quickest you've ever seen.
I know. No, not all in the same truck, man. Come on.
All of the same truck with the enhancement that makes them hit on 2s. Let's go. I want that truck. I want that truck to fire with the same amount of output as Penis Rex.
Yeah, so if the truck fires its demo charge, they fire their psychic weapon. You roll 4 ones, and you're like, "Well, this is life."
Yeah, then they disembark, and if it was, we just ignore the update, and we all get to fire them again.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it just kind of feels like it. Yeah, you better kill them when they all stick their heads out. That's all I'm saying. That with the Benefactors is like, yeah, okay. If you do inflict the mortal blow to your opponent's army with your 3 Benefactors and you cripple them entirely with all your eyelash cannons at 18-inch range,
well,
18-inch range, then great. Okay, I like the lethal hits. I think the lethal hits is good in Host of Ascension.
Yeah, they're good with Assassination Edict.
Yeah, exactly. And you can I'm definitely trying one with Assault Commander with the rerolls with some demo charge guys because it's funny and I want to see what happens. But I think
look forward to hearing your review.
It won't be good. But I think ultimately the Benefactus is cute, but probably could be.
Oh, Danny, how do you their 4th vulnerable save lets them not get knifed out by the Knife Sanctus. So
yes, good counter for that Knife Sanctus. It's beautiful tech. Beautiful tech.
Or she just pops it and fills it against the Sniper Sanctus. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so, anti-psycher.
I don't know. Turns it into a deadly 50-50. That's what we're.
It is anti-psycher 2+.
Because he's gonna hit. Because he's got the alphas to give him the rerolls to make sure. He.
It's going to be the most messed up tournament. You just got to play 2,000 points of it. It's just, you get 3 of every character in GSC and we see what happens.
I really want to play it. I want to play that game. I think it'd be really fun.
Alright, and that gives us our last one?
Yeah, it gives us our finale, and we will wrap things up here. So we've got the Acolyte Icon Ward. For me, is
fucking shit.
Is Dross. I would put him in D tier with the Locus because it's like, who cares if metas have a 4-up feel no pain, they'll still dive. And you might as well make them do damage. And it's the same as the Locus. It's like a defensive buff for a unit that just needs to do damage whilst it's still here. And that's where it's at.
He's the character that has Scout. So
that's the upside.
Keep them fast. And I don't hate the idea of doing like 3 squads of 10 Flamer Acolytes in Goliaths with that and being like, don't put them in Metamorphs, just give them the 5 of them on the event and just fucking push them. And I think that could be kind of interesting. I don't think it's a detachment for now, but I think I could see that being interesting. Depending on like what cult ambush changes look like and things like that, if we're incentivized away from playing lots of MSU stuff, it's the kind of thing I'd be interested in trying that.
If he could attach himself with the Benefactors to neophytes, I would bump him up quite a bit because that would be quite a fucking saucy combo.
Yes, you wouldn't add your hazardous check on your Benefactors. That's all Danny wants.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this is like the one character I think that can actually not join with a second character.
Yeah, Benefactors doesn't join with anything.
So fucking silly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If you could have Benefactors Primus in the unit, I think that might be a little much. So
yeah, that would be bananas, but it would be fun.
It's fine. There's been
It would
worse
just mean that you
contenders in
could
the
just
board
have
game.
almost the neophyte combination in any of the detachments rather than doing it in.
I will say
Yes.
I'm solid sticking to my guns though. The truck does not leave S tier. I'm heartily convinced.
Yeah, no, I'm
based on
I'm
every
happy with it. So
conversation we had.
just to reiterate where we're at, we've got in our S tier we have the Mighty Achilles Ridge Runner, the Hand Flamer Acolyte, the Goliath truck, and then the Biophagus. I'm perfectly happy with that. I think that's completely legit. Then in A tier we have the Mighty Hybrid Metamorphs, Melee Acolytes, Neophytes, Kellamorph, Abominant, and Pure Strain Genestealers. Moving it down to B, we have the Rock Grinder, the Aberrants, the Saboteur, the Benefictus, the Sanctus, the Clamorous, and the Atalan Jackals. And Danny wants it on record that different Sanctus are better than other kinds of Sanctus, so get your Sanctus right. And then going down to C tier, we have the Brood Coven, all cuddling each other and crying, with the Patriarch, Primus, and
You can move the
Magus.
Patriarch at the bottom of B. I'm not upset about that anymore. He's not
Hey,
sharing that
look at him
company.
go! He's
not sharing
breaking
that
out.
company.
He's broken out. Yeah, he can't
he's
be on the
slightly
same
faster.
tier as the Magus.
He's slightly faster.
Yeah, look, that guy can go and fight some scouts, and I won't hear otherwise. Will he miss 2 of his attacks and then get done by them because they're Blood Angel scouts?
Best value CP in
Probably.
the game is rerolling his 1 into a 1 on his hit roll.
Yeah, so that leaves C tier, Primus, Magus, Jackal Alphas, and Nexus. Just people that make the revolution possible that seemingly aren't needed right now.
Look,
And that's okay.
in HR is in C tier.
Yes,
right?
the entirety of HR in C tier. And then we have the minions down in D with the Icon Ward and the Locus. So it's just so many characters when you put it out like that. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Every single unit we have is great. Like I think the lowest we put a unit was B tier with the bikes.
Yeah, exactly. The bikes are low B,
They're
and
fine.
yeah, so
If they had a 4-up save,
they're exactly fine.
If they had a 4-up save, I'd be just like chill with them. The 5-up
and then we end up taking 700 points of the characters as well. It's just
you
stupid.
do. I have not run a GSC list with more than 5 characters, and I still refuse to.
Very smart. Very smart. All
My
right,
Xeno
everybody.
Creed list would make you sign. No, I'm joking.
Yep. They don't come back, Danny. Why would I run more of them?
3 Maguses! Yes!
Oh my word. Innes and Danny, this has been exactly as silly as I hoped it would be. Hopefully we'll collab some more in the future because this has been really, really funny.
We're both going to just YOLO to Host of Ascension now, apparently.
Yeah,
like, I
Host
just
of Ascension.
I follow whatever Danny's doing, I'm following to take credit for.
This is the first time where I'm like, maybe not. I don't know if I'm going with him this time. I don't have time to figure that thing out right now. I'm enjoying Biosanctity, but yeah.
Give me a week, I'll be on them for Celtic Cup.
All right, everybody. That's the end of this tier list. We hope you've enjoyed it. We will see you all again soon for more They Came From Below content. Good night. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.